We are going to talk today about wisdom. And I want us to first look at the idea of wisdom in two different ways. One, the idea of wisdom as the universal as God, because wisdom is a quality of God. Wisdom is a quality of conscious knowing. And that conscious knowing is of highest ideas, highest good, and that is always back of us. That is of all that is. And then there is that humankind wisdom. And again, because we are of God, we are of that eternal, infinite allness, that wisdom is a quality that is inborn within us. It is a part of us, whether or not we choose to tap into it. And I would venture in the way that I think that we are always tapping into it, whether we're tapping into it on the spectrum in a greater degree or a lesser degree. And I know for myself personally, I've done a little of both. Probably you have too. So wisdom in mankind or humankind becomes applied as we make right use of our thought. Now, I heard that in both the reflection from Ophelia today about forgiveness and the reading from Frank and Ron Fox. The idea of making right use of our own personal thought. As we use the wisdom of God within us, our divine intuition, to think the highest idea in a situation in our lives, and then move that thought into action, into an experience in accordance with law, it becomes our personal wisdom operating in the world. So we are able to utilize that quality, that power of wisdom in our lives in each and every experience that we have. Now, I try to make a lot of the things that I say applicable to real life experiences. And so I'm going to talk about two different things today, but the first one I'm going to talk about is more an idea from, it's all from Ernest Holmes, but it's more of a specific idea from Ernest Holmes that we may or may not be able to relate to. But what I want us to all know is that whatever is on our plate today, whatever is right in front of us, because we come together on Sundays, each having a different experience of our lives. Maybe someone is coming here today with a toothache and they would like to be alleviated from it. Well, hopefully the meditation helped. But also the wisdom within us to think rightly helps. And someone else may not be able to relate to a toothache at all that's sitting here because they've never even experienced one before. But they may have something else going on. And maybe you're sitting here going, I don't think I have anything negative going on. It's all good. Good. Keep that line of thought continuing in that exact way. Most of us in our humanness can find something that we would like to make shifts in life. So wisdom. In the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes writes about heart trouble. And he talks about the idea that the heart is the center of divine love and perfect circulation. He writes, its action is harmonious, vital, adequate, and complete. In the Bible, it's written, let not your heart be troubled. And Solomon in Proverbs speaks very wise words of wisdom to us, for us, when he writes, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Keep the heart with all diligence. Anything, any idea that touches the sympathetic nature of a person has within it the power to either build up or destroy the physical body of a person. Anything that touches the sympathetic nature, thoughts that we have that tap into us. This is our personal wisdom operating at the level of our understanding to a greater or to a lesser degree. Ernest Holmes cites evidence when he's talking about heart trouble from records and statistics of fatalities due to heart trouble. He says often a result from shock, loss, or fear which manifest in the body of the thinker. We want our wisdom space to generate ideas in that greater wisdom, right thinking. The remedy to any of these situations is love, because the heart is the love center. In the Bible, it is also written, perfect love casteth out fear. So being engaged in love becomes our personal wisdom at work, harmonizing and keeping us vital and complete. So there is a way for us, each one of us, personally, to increase our wisdom and our experience of life, enhancing our life. Ernest Holmes writes about this as the law of unfoldment. The law of unfoldment states that one can only advance by going from where he or she is to the place where he or she would like to be. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And yet what happens often to us is we're here, and the law of unfoldment is working in a different way than where we really want to be. We're thinking thoughts that are going to go down a different path. And it is for us to rein those back in, to look at what thoughts will accomplish that where we want to be. We cannot think two things at the same time. As we unfold our mentality, law responds, whether we choose that path or this path. It's all up to us. And one of the parts of it is increasing our wisdom and our knowledge through these affirmations. We grow in our God-given wisdom. Applying truth to our actions sets us free to experience our right path in life. So one of the ways, take time each and every day to see your life as you wish it to be. And when you get snagged on one of those thorns and you stop in place ruminating on a negative, as soon as you catch it, shift it. No, that's not where I want to be. That is where I want to be. That is where I'm headed. The thoughts that I hold, right thoughts, are heading me in that direction now. So the time that we take makes a space within us for wisdom to reveal itself through us and to us. Now I told you that there were two ideas that I was going to share that were more specific. And the second one is this book called Freedom from Stress. I picked it up this week to read it, not intending that it would have anything to do with the talk today, which I had already determined was wisdom, but rather I picked it up because I thought, ooh, I could get something out of that one. And it made me giggle just a little bit because I remember a time when I was in a doctor's office and you have to fill out those forms, and one of the questions was, what's your degree of stress? And I looked, and 1 was very little, and 10 was an extreme amount of stress. And I had happened to bring someone, I don't remember what doctor's office or who it was that was with me, but whoever it was that was sitting beside me, I said, isn't this interesting? They don't have a 0 for you to check for no stress, and I don't think I have any stress. Do you think I have any stress? And whoever it was went, you don't think you have any stress? And I was like, well, with that reaction, I guess you think I have some stress. So maybe I'll take a second look at it. Whoever it was I knew loved me, or I wouldn't have taken a second look at it. But when someone loves you and they say something to you, it's worth a second look, even if your first idea is, what? I have no stress. But as I came to look at the idea of it, it was something that I would have liked to claim that I have no stress. But really, when I think about it, I wonder if that's true for any of us. Even if it's just for a little smidge of a moment that something happens and that is stress. We might not call it that, but that tension is stress. So this little book, which while I'm on my travels, I am going to write a class for, because it is magnificent. And it's compiled and edited by Willis Kinnear, but it was written by Ernest Holmes. And it was written a long, long time ago. And it was one of the articles that he put in the annual edition of the Science of Mind magazine, which is no longer available. However, Willis Kinnear has put all of those articles into small books, this being one of them. So Freedom from Stress. Now don't get worried, I'm not going to read you the whole book. I knew I couldn't do that. But this, for me, is an incredible way of practicing the use of our wisdom, of the quality of wisdom within us. So what I am going to do is summarize by using the table of contents, using those titles, and go through the ideas in sentence form. So Holmes sets this book up in 3 parts. And the first part is called New Horizons of Thinking. In this one, he's talking about rediscovering yourself. Now, we're never too old to rediscover ourselves, and we're never too young to rediscover ourselves. It's about that popular phrase, know thyself. And in so knowing ourselves, we rediscover ourselves, maybe some new part of us, or we make shifts within that. And how do we do that? Of course we do it through the power of our own mind. So it's an inside job. We can do it in any given moment, no matter where we are or who's around or what's going on. We can utilize the power of our mind to discover ourselves. And not only are we looking at ourselves, who we are, what we are, but we're also looking at what our beliefs about the universe. What is the universe to you? And then, having received ideas about those 2 topics, how do you relate to and fit in to the universe? And remembering that while we're doing that, we're using inner resources. We're using the idea of the power of our mind along with our inner intuition, sitting in the silence to listen to how it reveals new discoveries. And at the same time, recognizing that a part of inner resources is the idea that the creation, the creator, is back of you, always, always supporting you. all creation is for you. God could never be against you or any of your highest desires. So as we do that, as we take a look at those ideas and we utilize our inner resources, what happens is we realize that we are learning to live abundantly. Life is more joyous when we're in that space. And we are attracting well. We are creating a better tomorrow, but by what we are thinking here and now today. He calls this our mental diet, when we create that habitual thinking of right use of our thought. Mental diet. And about a month ago, David and I gave a talk entitled Mental Diet, and I wish I had had this at the time, because our mental diet is the key to our health. It is the key to freedom from stress. In part 2, Holmes titles it New Approaches to Living. So, as we are finding and using new approaches to our living, we are experiencing freedom from limitation. We can now maybe see how we may have put up boundaries or limits within who we think ourselves to be, or someone else to be, or certain situations in our life, or our health, our well-being. And we're beginning to experience freedom within that. And that is our wisdom at work within us. Realizing that what you want, you already have. It's already been given, ready for us to receive and accept. And so at that point, we can really start living. Oftentimes you hear people say, it's not enough to just exist. I want to live fully, live abundantly, feel excited about life, feel excited about what you're doing today. Think about what you're going to do this afternoon. Are you excited about it? Because remember, you can always change your mind. You have the power of your own personal mind with spirit back of you. And as we do this and accomplish this and feel this excitement, we realize that our living is really worthwhile. We're experiencing greater degree of joy and peace at the same time. We create our experience, and what is happening is we're learning to do it right. Now, I know a lot of people have said at different times that they're not too keen on that idea of right. But in Science of Mind, we do believe there is right thinking. Right thinking is thinking in a way that manifests to a high degree of joy and peace and abundant good, doing yourself and no one else harm. In part 3, he talks about new dimensions of experience, which I thought was pretty cool because David and Mark are at that conference looking at new dimensions of experience, growth and evolution. And they're hearing about some ideas that are kind of mind-blowing. And at the same time that they're hearing those ideas, the speakers are pulling everything back to new thought ideas. And the idea that as we revel in our spirituality, we grow ourselves in a natural state of life. So in New Dimensions of Experience, a long time ago, probably 100 years ago, Holmes talks about, once again, the power of our mind in action. I don't think we can hear those words too much, because whatever is going on, we can change our mind and change our lives. And we can learn to use our mind constructively so that everything that we're thinking about becomes a positive instead of a negative. And that is the road to a better life. It all starts with the idea that you plant in mind, and you discover the freedom and at the same time the security of life itself within you, inside you. It was there all along, awaiting your discovery and bringing you to what Holmes calls the greatest of all possibilities. And he titles it, How to Help Yourself and Others. As we learn to think from that place of divine intuition and divine purpose and divine wisdom, we are able to become a model in the world to think rightly, and it's attractive. Others want a piece of it. They see you coming and they can't wait to give you a hug or a hello. So another idea that I believe is very steeped in wisdom that I would like to conclude with today is the idea of serenity. Serenity, again, is an inside job, and it is the out-picturing within ourselves of our application of wisdom in each one of our right use of thought and our follow-through upon that thought. So serenity is an outcome. It's a goal, an intention. Serenity is an effect that we feel within ourselves. It is a manifestation of the mind and body working together through the power of our thought. And the wisdom within us makes it possible. So in closing, I'm going to share the serenity prayer, which I'm sure everyone's heard, but once again, one that we probably cannot hear or repeat or think about too often. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so it is.